Vomiting Rainbows. This is episode 29.
It's a dark news podcast. Be forewarned. There's lots of dark news coming your way.
Yeah, it's mostly this one around the theme of Hot for Teacher. This is Vomiting Rainbows, episode 29. This is a podcast where we live stream and Mike watches himself.
I'm watching myself, man.
Yeah, so now and now he's playing it at the same time, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So this is Vomiting Rainbows. This is episode 29. We're a darker news podcast. I tell my buddy Mike some stories that he knows nothing about, and the news barely touches. And then at the end, Mike tells us what's at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah, and if you haven't listened to a dark news podcast before, it can be a little unsettling, a little jarring, a little mentally exhausting. We talk about some pretty harsh topics from time to time.
We do.
I often leave this feeling extremely depressed.
Yeah. So Mike and I talked after the last podcast. Mike had an idea to make this a little bit more cohesive on a theme. So the theme for this podcast is Hot for Teacher.
Hot for Teacher.
And I know you're going to put like the trailer intro to this has to be Hot to Teacher.
That was an epic Van Halen video.
Epic. Yeah. And wasn't it a cover?
It might have been. It was weird because I'm sure the guys in Van Halen outside Dave Lee Roth didn't know it was a cover. Dave Lee Roth is a dude that was always into doing like Pretty Woman, these old Kink songs, and he'd always be into doing cover songs.
Right.
So Hot for Teacher, I guess it could have been a cover. I was unaware of it. If anyone knew, it would be David Lee Roth.
Yeah, I put in Hot for Teacher cover.
Yeah.
That doesn't work.
No. I'm pretty sure that's a Van Halen original.
All right, let's go with that.
I mean, you're telling me before 1984 someone would have sang a song like that? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I don't feel tardy.
Well, I mean, I feel like his little interludes were just like amazing.
Now I got to look it up, dude.
All right, you look it up.
Okay, you look it up and you keep talking. Hot for Teacher is the topic. I dig it.
All right, so Sarah Fowlkes is from Texas. She's a 29-year-old. She's quite striking. And she was accused of engaging in sexual contact with a 17-year-old student. She's married.
Wow.
Yeah.
Real quick, Doug, it's a Van Halen original.
It is.
Yes, it is.
Excellent. Good to know.
This whole topic brings up one of the biggest double standards in society, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because if it's a male teacher having sex with a female, it's like prison, death, castration. If it's a adult female having sex with like 17-year-old boy, it's like, wow, that guy lived out the fantasy of a lifetime.
Yeah.
It's like the ultimate double standard in society.
Well, and not only that, almost none of these cases are reported. And most of the time, it's the parents that catch on and report on behalf of their child.
Yeah.
The other thing, too, is almost across the board, the justice system will almost always plea this down to a misdemeanor with no need to register as a sex offender.
Crazy.
And for males, they'll almost unequivocally be registered as a sex offender for life.
Yeah, I got a buddy who actually...
And that includes, one of the big ones is a 17-year-old female having sex with a 19-year-old male is one of the, exactly, this is where it's the worst. Because the 19-year-old is considered an adult in most places, and the 17 is considered a minor.
Yeah, I think if you're 19, you should be cruising the junior colleges, not the high schools.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember I went to high school for a couple years near a Marine base, and there were a lot of Marines that would date the high school chicks and bring them to like dances and stuff.
Right.
And so that's kind of like a kind of a weird situation, right? Like a dude's, just graduated high school, maybe he's been in the Marines for a year, he's 19, he dated the girl when he was a sophomore.
Right.
And they've been dating, since he was a senior, she was a sophomore. And now he's like an adult, that could be a strange situation.
Yeah. So she was arrested on the statement of the 17-year-old.
Yeah.
There has been no evidence come forward that this is actual real. But her attorney says this isn't a guilty person. This is a person sitting in jail like they've done something wrong without a trial. So he's saying that she's getting vilified in the press.
Yeah.
On the word of a student, and the police have no evidence that shows, no text, no nothing in between.
So that doesn't make it. That doesn't. It's just all in the word of this kid. I mean,
Yeah.
is that kind of how the law goes? If a kid makes
Yeah.
an accusation like that, they have to take action.
Yeah, because the way when you're an adult and you have a situation like that comes up, you do think about evidence and proof and being able to when you make an accusation, you bring the proof forward with you if possible.
Yeah.
But with a child, they don't expect that, so they always side on the minors.
Yeah.
Unless there's something just egregious that shows like that this could be, a outlash towards a teacher, something of that nature. But
So she's saying that she's innocent, that there's no relationship, and this guy's saying, incorrect. I mean, it's funny because I was going to say earlier, I have a buddy that this kind of situation sort of happened. I don't think he had like full blown sex with the teacher, but they did have like a relationship. Like I know he at least made out with her, and he said, and he was in high school, and she was probably in her 30s, and he said that like it totally messed with him. Like he couldn't. Like it was hard for him to have like relationships with people his age, like girls his age after that, because it was weird. You know what I mean? Because like he went on, like he tried to date like a normal 16-year-old, and he's like, you don't even have your own house. You know what I mean? Like you don't have a jacuzzi. Like he said, it was weird. It screwed with him.
And that's one of the things that they say is no matter if male or female or whomever, having a relationship with somebody much more mature than you are, before you're an actual an adult, will definitely mess with you.
Well, and I think the thing is, like psychologically, you go like, how old was this teacher?
She was 27.
So she's 27 and this kid's 17. I mean, like what?
But here's the other thing.
Yeah.
The age of consent in Texas is 17.
Okay.
So she didn't commit a sexual crime. She committed a legal state law preventing any student, any teacher engaging with a student of any age. So that means and the public school system.
Yeah.
So government-controlled school system. So that means like if a college professor had sex with a student, he violates the law and could be prosecuted because that's how Texas is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that might just be in Texas, but I think that's kind of just called professional courtesy, right? I mean, like if this lady falls in love with one of her students, she should realize, like, I need to wait till he's out of high school, right? So there's not a conflict of interest. I mean, I know people say, oh, love's blind. And, you hear stories like this, though, like in the news where, like, they fall in love and they end up, like, being together. You know what I mean? And, I'm certainly not one to poo-poo love, but I think that, being the adult as far as, the older person, you're breaking a law, like, true love will wait, I guess, right? Like you can just tell the kid, hey, listen, I've fallen in love with you. You love me, but you're 17. I'm 30. You got to wait till you're 18, buddy. I'll see you in 12 months.
I feel like there's a song that goes like that.
I think like Winger sang it or something. Yeah, she's only 17, right?
Or even the underrated band Wings.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
there's nothing that will draw a crowd, like a clapping crowd to complete silence with one person going, woo, is when Paul McCartney like gets up and he's like, no, I'm going to play a Wings original. And everyone's like, who?
What?
Huh?
I think, I have a pretty hard line on stuff like this, man. It's like you got to protect the kids.
And I think that
you just have to.
And I think that's all the law.
Yeah.
And this teacher, she taught anatomy, physiology, at a high school. She was previously at an elementary school. So I don't know.
What do you think goes through like a woman's mind when she starts entertaining that and acts on it? I mean, is she just like, I'm at work all the time. I don't have time to date people because I'm always grading these people's papers.
She was married.
Oh my God, that's right. She was married.
So, I looked at her husband's page and her page.
Yeah.
And like all her page is like all pictures of her, her and him, her and the family, like all of that stuff.
How was that relationship going?
According to her, great.
Yeah, she just wanted some side action, or did the husband know about this? I mean, like that's the thing. Like it gets all weird and crazy. Like it.
The reason I started with this particular story is because this one seems iffy.
Yeah.
Like, and her attorney is saying it's iffy. I mean,
but you hear stories about like dudes who like to see their wife have sex with other guys, and they'll sit around and watch all that happen. I mean, is that this kind of situation, and they're pulling this young kid into that kind of dynamic? I mean,
I don't think so. The other thing too is he was age of consent.
Yeah.
So she technically did not have sex with a minor, just a teenager.
Yeah. You're saying that she broke the state law as far as professionalism.
Professional moral code. According to him, she touched his genitals and he grabbed her breast to achieve sexual gratification, is what the actual police report said.
Okay.
And then guess when this occurred?
Prom night?
No, the day before was her birthday. So this was the day after her birthday. So maybe she was out partying and
showed up to school kind of wasted. Was like, "Hey, Jimmy, stay after. Don't go out to recess. I got to go over a paper with you."
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It is to me, it's just it's disgusting behavior, man. I mean, you when you're put in a position to teach a child, a parent, the community, society is putting so much trust in you to be a decent person and behave accordingly, that when you break that kind of code, I mean, to me, it's horrific. It's horrible.
I dated a girl who told me she was 21 and she turned out to be 19. Still legal,
but that's kind of crazy too, right?
Right. But then later we broke up because I was like, that's not going to work. She then was caught and busted when she was dating Gavin Newsom.
Oh, no
and she
way.
was holding a glass of wine on the front cover of the Chronicle.
Yeah.
And she was 20 at that point.
Gavin. Dirty.
Oh, Gavin. He's come a long way, though.
Yeah.
I think he's great now.
Yeah. I mean, he's always been a good politician, but he's
always been on the right side of, maybe not ethically the right side or morally for his own purposes, but when it comes to the good of the people, he's always.
Yeah, I tend to be a little more old fashioned, and I just think when you screw your best friend's wife, like it's like that shows your true character. I mean, I don't care how good of a politician he is, and however many laws he passes, and all the good he does for society. I mean, that is a striking character flaw. I mean, that's beyond crazy, and it not only does it show a complete lack of like. Just kind of the things that I think are very important to be a man, like, knowing boundaries.
Right.
And of course, this also something that doesn't happen just one-sided. I'm sure that his best friend's wife, was interested in being with Gavin. So, I mean, it's not a one-sided issue. So I'm not trying to say.
It takes two to.
It does. It does. But at the same time, I mean, it's like, it wasn't just his best friend. It was like his campaign dude. It was like the dude that basically made him up to that point.
Yeah, you have to draw a line.
Yeah. I mean,
and you have to say no to someone.
Yeah. But then again, I don't run in those same circles. I mean, maybe in the highfalutin San Francisco elite social scene, it's just a gigantic orgy for all I know. And those things aren't important. I mean, it could be, and so maybe Gavin's just like, whatever, dude. And they're just, it's just one rich billionaire orgy all up in Sacramento. Could be.
Well, after the fact that they don't talk anymore, I'm guessing it's not. But so let's move on to a 24-year-old. So she's a little bit younger. Yeah. Her name is Katherine Gonzalez.
Isn't it weird, though, like when you hear like 24-year-old teacher does something like this, the first thing you want to do is see what they look like?
Yeah.
What do they look like? Why is that? What does that say about us?
I don't know.
We're filthy pigs? Like, what does that mean?
But I think you can pause for a second and just come over and look at this Sarah Fowlers.
Okay, hold on.
Or no, actually, you can just look her up over on yours.
Yeah,
you have the internet over there.
I do have the internet. What is it?
Sarah Fowlkes. Folks. I said Fowlers. I don't know why.
Oh, there she is.
Yeah.
There she is.
So that's the one that's not the one that they're not sure about.
Yep.
Now go to look up Katherine Gonzalez.
Catherine. Everyone can do this while they're listening to this podcast too. This is real time.
This is real time fun for the whole family. And she went to she taught at Atlas Prep in Milwaukee.
Catherine Gonzalez. I'm not seeing this.
24-year-old Katherine Gonzalez.
Is it K with a Catherine with a K?
Yes.
Okay, hold on.
So this one is extremely disturbing because she was with an 11-year-old student.
Jesus Christ. This makes me feel sick. I told you it was a dark news podcast.
Yeah, dark news.
Ugh.
She had been inappropriately, this is a prep school. So you'd think your child is, like, they're paying good money to send their child to school.
Yeah.
And they assume that their child's going to be safe.
See, I assume the exact opposite, man. I think a lot of those like kind of elite prep schools, like I think crazy stuff goes on there.
Big orgies of billionaires.
Maybe.
It's like upper government.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that I would think crazier stuff goes there because it's like there's codes and you don't want to like, mark the school so you keep quiet and there's all this like weird unsaid stuff. That's just kind of what I think when someone's like, I went to like some kind of crazy academy. It's like, to me, it's like, oh, you probably got beat and weird stuff,
All the coolest guys that I knew at college went to this one particular Catholic prep school.
Yeah.
And I think it just made, even the girls who came out of there were just the coolest girls. They were they had all done drugs. They had all partied together and they like had private bars in their rooms,
Crazy.
like they knew how to throw a party. They all of them failed out of school, of course. But like, I mean, probably none of them lived past like 30. But I mean, they definitely knew how to live.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I agree with you. I do believe. I feel like
it's like behind closed doors. There's like another wall when you go to one of those kind of private little prep schools. Like it's like there's fences around them, and there's a reason, like.
But Mike, I know you go to a lot of places that are behind closed doors.
This is true.
People would think orgies go on, and you're back
this is true.
You hang out with bands all the time in
true.
areas where no one else can go, and everybody assumes there's a huge orgy going on there, and it's a whole bunch of people eating Snicker bars and like fucking like bored out of their mind, waiting to go on stage.
Just a bunch of dudes like me and you sitting around going, so, man, how do you think the Raiders are going to do this year?
Right. Dude, the weather today was awesome, wasn't it? What'd you guys do in the city today?
Yeah, true. It's true.
Yeah. So she said that, or he said that they kissed in the car, and she grabbed him and made him touch her closed private part.
Mm.
So, this is one where she admitted that she had been communicating with the student over the past couple of months inappropriately, took the student out for a reward, and then ended up taking the student back to her home and texted him, "I'm in love with a kid and I cannot tell anyone."
Yeah, see, here's the thing, man. The parents, like, if your teacher is like, hey, I'm going to take your kid out for a reward, like, you got to step up and get some background on this. Like, you can't just be like, oh, okay, cool, have them home by 10 p.m. You can't do that. Like, it's just, like I said, there are lines and teachers, that's clearly crossing a line. I mean, my wife taught high school for 3 years.
Right.
And they're very clear about, like, the borders that you have when it comes to social relationships with kids. You just don't, you don't do that.
You definitely do not do that.
The teacher that, goes home and goes to the kid's home and sleeps over and helps them study for a history test. That's like a movie.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
but even think of anything in your professional life. Like, for example, like I'm in the bar industry.
Yeah.
I do not do anything with my staff. Same with you and your coworkers.
Yeah.
Like it's when you
Well,
have
I'm certainly not
when you
trying
have
to
a
kiss
work-
them. I mean, you know what I mean? I might have lunch with them, but yeah.
right, you know what I mean. Inappropriate relationships in the workplace, like if you're out on the town, that's one thing, but it's you try and keep a professional relationship with whomever you're working with in your workspace.
Yeah, definitely.
And especially when it comes to a teacher relationship. Like
Yeah,
a
with
teacher,
kids.
because they have a respect for you, no matter whom you are.
Yeah. I think, I mean, maybe with these teachers that are all into these younger dudes, I mean, maybe part of it's like that forbidden fruit, right? Like, is that I'm trying to understand the psychological appeal for this, and maybe that's what it is. Like, it's so forbidden that's like the only thing that turns them on. Like, they can't, you know what I mean? Like, they can't, like, that's it. Like, it has to be shady and it has to be illegal and there has to be other stakes than just, or it could be that, or it could just be that they have no capacity to form a normal, mature relationship with someone their own age. So they have to manipulate and take advantage of someone younger than them.
That's the one constant theme that I found in all of this. They all had existing relationships with people of their own age. If they weren't married, like this, Catherine had a boyfriend.
Can you imagine?
And she said that the reason that she said that she fell in love with this guy was because she was having doubts with her adult boyfriend.
So she's like, I know, I'll just fall in love with a child.
Makes no sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe these, yeah. It's tough to explain. It's tough to think about.
Well, it's probably like, well, this isn't working over here, so I want what I can't have. I don't know.
I mean, what a blow too to that dude. Like, imagine, like, wait, you're cheating on me with an 11-year-old? Like,
yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Although most guys, I guess 24 are probably like, the maturity level of guys is a lot slower than women. So
I would agree with that, but still, that would be.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
That would be crazy. I mean, think of what you were doing at 11. Like I was
playing video games, skateboarding.
Maybe like I was skateboarding. I just started skateboarding with my buddy Tony, and he had just snuck over a Playboy magazine for me to read.
Yeah, well, that was also different times.
Yeah.
Now there's the internet. I mean,
yeah,
we're talking.
We didn't have the internet back then. If anything, we had a dial-up modem, and you had to wait for each line to come through to see if it was going to be a good naked picture or a bad naked picture.
Yeah, I remember the first time I ever saw a guy that had a home computer. There was a game. It was called Strip Poker, and it was like that green digital.
Yeah.
Whatever, and like if you won enough poker hands, like basically every time you'd win, like a piece of her clothing would come off. At the end, you saw like a digital representation of like a naked lady.
Right.
I mean, that's like this was probably 1983.
Right.
84, maybe?
Well, I just remember, do you remember Leisure Suit Larry?
I remember the name. I can't remember. What was Leisure Suit Larry?
It was like another one of those games where like Larry would go around and then you play games, and if you got through enough games, the girl would get naked.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah. It's crazy. So, I mean, like, I don't know how we got into this tangent, but yeah, I mean, it's weird. Like the internet and naked women, like before, it wasn't even a picture of a naked woman. It was like a digital representation of a naked lady.
Yeah.
And I remember the guy's name. His name was Danny, and the computer was up in his parents' room, and it would take about 30 to 40 minutes to win the poker game. And I remember he's like, "You gotta check it out. You gotta check it out." And then like we won, and I'm like, oh, "That's awesome, man. Cool." Yeah. I didn't know what to say. I'm like, "Awesome."
Yeah. So. Anyway, that's Catherine's story, and I think we're going to find we'll probably do a follow-up on each of these at some point. But the last part of our trifecta is about Brooke Lajiness, and Brooke she also a 38-year-old mom, and she also admitting to having sex 15 times with a teenage boy. The boy was 14.
Jesus, dude. And she had kids?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God.
She had 2 children. One is older than the child that she had sex with.
Dude.
And it's a boy.
This is when we need like a professional on this show.
Yes.
Like to explain how this stuff happens. I mean, what happened to this woman to act out this way? I mean, she had to have had, I would assume horrific things happened to her, right? Like what's her backstory?
No, she
normal, healthy person, normal family, pillar of the community.
She is constantly posting photos of how she's in love with her husband. Like her whole Facebook. Most of the people have pulled down their Instagrams, etc.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that they kept coming out with is that these teachers, all of them, should not have had a public Instagram, one that was publicly visible.
Yeah.
Because it had sexy photos of each of these teachers. And that's one of the representatives from the school system said it's completely inappropriate for a teacher to have a public-facing Instagram that is not protected so that their students cannot see how their personal lives interact.
Well, I think any teacher would want that separation, But then again, Doug, we're talking to a different generation. I mean, the people who are becoming teachers right now, currently, I mean, they're from the duck lips selfie generation, right? They've probably spent more time looking at themselves.
This lady's 38.
Yeah,
that's
unbelievable.
And the other thing that's really that the state trooper or the state investigator from this said that this woman was actually trolling for a minor.
Crazy.
So this one is probably the more disturbing of all of them.
And she was married, and she had 2 kids, one of which was older than the victim of her.
Yeah, so she has a older son who's in high school, and then
And what does that kid tell his friends? Like, oh my God, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you're telling me that like some freshman's like, yeah, man, I'm banging your mom.
Yeah,
and it's the truth.
It's so disturbing. I think he was in junior high. So she was from Michigan, and she appeared in court on the 16th. She's going to be facing 13 counts of third-degree criminal sexual contact. So this is one of the ones where they're actually prosecuting. It seems like as they like in a fair and like balanced in terms of gender. Also, an account of accosting a minor and furnishing obscenity to a child. So she is on $50,000 bond. She's free at this time, but I mean, my goodness.
Yeah, like I said, a lot of the stories that we talk about on this podcast, they're hard to wrap your brain around. And you just hit me with 3 of them.
Yeah.
3 of the same ones.
So the big one that they noted on this one's on heavy as well. The first 2 were on heavy. The second story that we did, I found on a local website. So this one was one where heavy actually went into the fact of usually there's a discrepancy in prosecution, but this time seems like there won't be.
Yeah.
But you never know until you see it actually prosecuted, because that's when they drop it down.
Yeah.
And she might not have to register as a sex offender, which would be kind of scary because she actually trolled for this person and admitted.
Well, that's the thing. Like, so this comes out. I mean, how does she even get her life back? Not saying that she should deserve it, but I mean, I'm sure her husband's going to leave. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how, like this woman lost everything right now. Cause I mean, I'm sure she's legally can't be around her own kids. Right. I mean,
yeah. And the other thing,
she's a predator.
The other thing that I thought was really funny about this is that she's from the town of Dexter.
No way.
Yeah.
Nice. That was
Dexter,
a great show.
Michigan.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So,
there's a lesson to be learned here.
Yeah.
If you're a teacher, stay away from kids.
Yeah. Why? There's so many, and none of these, all these women are normal, and they could have an adult relationship. So, why not? Like, if they're looking for younger affection, why not go for a 20-something?
Yeah. I mean, you can go on Craigslist, right? Or any number of apps and like find like people who will act like kids, dress up like kids. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, us as a 20, even a 21-year-old, technically we were acting like kids.
Yeah, you could go on Craigslist and say, I'm looking for a 20-year-old dude who will wear a high school Letterman jacket. Yes. Right? I mean,
it's just ridiculous.
Ugh.
So yeah, she studied biology in Las Vegas, and then moved with her husband And I can only imagine how that conversation's going now because she's out. She asked to be near her mom and her family so that she didn't want to be, if sent to jail, she wanted to be in vicinity of her support network.
Man, this is one of those things, like, as a parent, my brother has a daughter, and you always want to be there to support your kids. You always want to back your kids up, but
you have two sons.
Yeah, something like this. I mean, like if they were to grow up and be predators against children, I mean, no. I don't want you hanging around my house, man.
No.
That's one of those dead to me situations.
Exactly. I completely. So, yeah, that's our Vomiting Rainbows episode 29.
29.
Contact us at contact@vomitingrainbows.com. We welcome any of your comments and ideas. Also, you can find us at We Vomit Rainbows on social media. Please rate and review us. And, watch us on our live stream. This will be posted on our Facebook. It's if you haven't watched it already.